Hello folks. In this video we're going to take a look at Python dictionaries and how we can use them to organize data inside of our code. A Python dictionary is a little more complex than lists, which we looked at in the last video, but they are equally as important to structuring our code and to building objects, which we'll get to in the future. Python dictionaries are easy to write. All we have to do is define a variable. We'll create a person dictionary object. So we'll call this person1. We say that's equal to, and instead of the brackets we use for lists, here we're going to use the curly braces. I'm going to hit enter. It should space it out right. And then what we do is we enter a string, say name. We enter a colon. And then we enter the person's name. Okay, so dictionaries, that's all this is we have a person1 variable, we see curly braces, we see an identifier on the left-hand side, we call it a key, and then we see its value on the right-hand side. Okay, and if we want to add more, we just enter a comma at the end of that line. Maybe do job. We could say teacher. Okay. And that's it. So all dictionaries are not like a dictionary like you would think of looking up on information online, but actually it's not that far off. There's certain rules about dictionaries that should be familiar to you. If you've ever looked something up online or looked it up in a book, okay, there's certain rules that we can do, and certain rules we must code by. So let's finish off by adding additional things to the dictionary, and I'll show you the different things we can add, different types. So let's do age. I'll dramatically underage myself. We'll do 24. I'm just starting off my career. Okay. We can also add location. Massachusetts. And we can add in let's do hobbies. We'll do it as a list. So I'm going to do the brackets there, and I'll do coding, string, coding, video games. That pretty much covers it. And then we'll have also, in addition to this, we'll have additional qualities about them. So we can say something like maybe bio. And I'm going to put another dictionary there. And we can do, let's see, height. I'll do 6 feet. Give myself a little bit. And then we'll do weight. And 175. Sure, why not? Okay. So what do we see here? So we see that we can add in keys. All right. I'll put a little comment here. Key value pairs. Above that, I'll do creating a new dictionary. Okay. Key value pairs. So we have the key on the left-hand side, pair on the right, the value on the right-hand side. We see that the key over here can be a string. There's certain rules. Okay, you can do strings, numbers, or another value type called tuples, or sorry, tuples. But you can't do lists or dictionary items on this side. Okay, so there's certain rules. You'll know because Python will complain if you try to do something you're not supposed to. But on the right-hand side, we can put as a value, we can put all sorts of different things. We can put a number here. We see green, so it's a number. We can see strings. We can add lists. And we can add dictionaries inside of dictionaries. Pretty cool. So this is our basic information about it, about an object. Okay. And this is beginning down a path towards what's called object-oriented programming, where we can think of the world as a series of objects, right? So you have a cup or a dog or something like that, a person. We can code things that are specific about them. Now, the benefit is that these things are essentially variables that we're creating inside the dictionary. So if we wanted to do this outside of it, we have to do person one name, person one job, person one age as a series of variables that would be global to the entire program. Then that could get messy really quickly, right? That if we happen to forget that we already did person one and we go to type person two, that's going to be a problem. Or person one and we type person one again, that's going to be a problem. Also, this makes it easy to, later on, I'll show you how we can do classes. And with classes, it's going to be really easy to replicate a dictionary. So once you create one enemy or one boss, or say you're designing a video game, you can then make copies of that one enemy or one item, right? We can set a bunch of qualities for an item, a sword, right? We can set its damage, its its durability, it's the type that it's come from, where it can be picked up. All these different things we can set up inside of a dictionary. So they're super handy. Okay, we'll go through a number of different things we can do to add or access information. So let's get dictionary value. So you're writing a program, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do print x. And instead of writing like 1,000 print statements, we're just going to make this a little bit easier by just doing x. And then we can just say x gets person, and then we pass in the item that we want to get, say name. And then we'll print off person bracket name. Oh, person one. There we go. Okay. So we see that it went and got the value. And this is how you have to look it up, right? So I'll make a comment here that says using key. Okay, just like if you went to look up something inside of a book, right? I mean, yeah, we have searching now, which makes it a lot easier. But if you were doing this with an actual physical book, right, and you couldn't search it, how would you know if something was inside of it, right? So you can go to the table of contents in the front, or you can go to the index in the back. Both will roughly give you a page that you can access the information. So if you want to know, okay, what page is the word MJ appearing on, or excuse me, the word name appearing on, it would tell you, oh, okay, look at page such and such, right? Look at page 13. And you turn to page 13, and there it is. The only other way to do it is to search through and find the item one by one. Okay. And actually, what Python's doing here is searching it for you. Unlike a list, there are no position values for anything here, so it's not like we can say, okay, what's the first thing in dictionary? That's not how this works. You'd have to know exactly what the keys are inside in order to get the value off of that key. And, well, you might ask, well, how do I know what keys are available inside of that dictionary? Well, that's another problem. So what if we wanted to know all the keys that were available, right? We could do get all keys, right? And it'd be helpful to know just what the keys are. We can do that simply by running a for key in students loop. Or more simply, maybe just do something like x equals person one keys. And we see all the keys that are inside there, right? So we can print them out individually. If we wanted to do something like for key in person one dot keys, print the key. And we see there's just two different ways to get all the keys, right? So name, job, age, location, hobbies, bio, and then we see the other way, which is to actually go through and print off each one. So I'll hide this for a second. Actually, Yeah, the reason why it's appearing out of order is that the print here needs to move up. Wait, there we go. Okay, so you can move lines around. I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but you can move lines around just by holding down the Alt key and pressing the up or down arrow key, and it will move a line. All you have to do is have your cursor selected on the line you want to move. So for key in person1.keys, print key. All right. So that shows us how we can get all the keys in there. So once we know all the keys, then it becomes real easy to go through and do things, do something to each key, right? Say we want to go through and say we don't want to know all the keys because maybe there's a lot of keys. Let's find out the get length of dictionary. Let's find out how many keys there are. Actually, I'm going to move this print statement back down here. I'm going to comment out this print key. Okay. And let's to find out the length of it, let's just set X to be equal to the length of the dictionary. So in this case, we'll do person1. Bad input on line. What did I do? Line 25. That's not wrong. Don't lie. Like the person1. Will not let us set print. Let's see. Whoops. What happened here? That is simply not true. What's going on here? Oh, you know what? I have all right, yeah. I have a for statement up here, but nothing inside of it. So what it's doing is reading the next line. Okay, so now we can go back and we can do X equals. There we go. Okay, cool. All right, so yeah, there we go. So X equals length of person1. We could see that it's going to take 6. It's going to be 6 different items, 6 different keys inside of there. So that way we can know how many keys we're going to be printing out or how many things we want to perform an action to. Okie dokie. So that handles that. Moving on down. All right, so we know how many things are in there. We know what all of them are. We know how to print off individual ones. Okay, all this is very handy. How do we, let's say, update a dictionary? And in that case, let's do person1. We can do it like update. We can run an update method, and this is built into a dictionary. And then we pass in the new thing that we're going to be adding. And so in this case, I'll say favorite coding language, and we'll give it Python, of course. There we go. All right, cool. And or we can do it the other way, which is, so this adds, let me take a look here. And actually, let's do print. Okay, person1. And when we print off person1, we see that there's a new entry added to the end, which is favorite coding language is Python. Very neat. And actually, I'll maybe clarify this. Update a dictionary. It's not exactly updating. We'll say add new key value to a dictionary. There we go. The other thing we can do is actually update a value. So that's more specific. And what that one's going to be is we're going to take something that exists there already and just update that. Some things, some values and data types you can change. Python dictionaries are one that you can change the values inside of it. That's not always that great because if you have a very specific program you're trying to write and you don't want the values being changed, you don't want to write it as a dictionary because, well, they can be changed. Okay, so what we can do is say we want to or change something that's here. I say we're going to change age. The person gets older by a year. Okay, updating a value. Let's say we'll change this back to X. Say X equals person1. Actually, yeah, we'll do X equals person1. And then we'll do person1. And then we pass in the thing we want to change, age. And then we say it's going to get its new value, say 25. And when we print out person1, we should see age has been updated to now say 25 as opposed to the original 24. So another good point about this is that you can see that as we go through, some of you might be wondering why we're printing off the keys at all. If you can just look up at the code and see the keys, right? I mean, it's there, right? Why we have to go through all the steps of looking and counting if we code it in the first place? Well, as the program goes through, the current state of the program, the current state of that dictionary will change when you update the values. So yes, it might start off very clearly what the values are, and you might know exactly how many there are inside of there, but that's going to change as we go through the program, and the dictionary mutates with additional code. So what is the current state of it at any given time? You might not know, or you might have to print off that current state back to the user. So in that case, you're going to want to make sure that you know what's inside of it at any given moment. So to basically check you see if your code's working, but also just simply to move forward to the next step of your program. So here, when we update the age, that changes the state of the dictionary, and it's something that we just need to know as we go through if we add things or delete things. And speaking of which, let's delete a value. So for this one, deleting a value is relatively straightforward. We delete the key. Actually, delete a update a value, delete a key value. So it's going to delete both of them. So we say person 1, and then we say what we want inside of it. We want to delete. We're going to delete that age. We don't want anyone knowing how old they are. Okay. And then we'll say x equals person 1, and that's fine. Let's run it. Okay. So we see name, age, job, teacher, where there should be an age key value. There's not. It just jumps to location. Okay. And if we did person 1, and underneath we did, actually, we'll do 2 different statements here. We'll do print, we'll do length of person 1, and I'm going to copy that, and we'll run it here. Okay, we can see the length changing as well too. So we print the length before 7, we delete, and then we print the length again, we get 6, and we can see that it's clearly changed. Okay, so this is another way we can update our dictionaries and have it respond there. We can actually see it live happening. Okay, so deleting is easy. Next up, what happens if we want to, what if we want just all the values? Whoops. In a key value pair. Maybe we're not interested in the keys. We just want the values. Because maybe the values are going to be individual names. Maybe this is a collection of names, right? So we can do, or we want to plot the values. Maybe it's all, this is a mixture of different strings and numbers and everything else. But if we have a dictionary that is only of one type of data, say numbers, we can then plot those numbers on there. So we just want the values. So let's just get rid of person 1, and we're going to do values person 1 values. Okay. And we see only the things that are a result. Now it comes back as an array, a list, right? A list of items that's included within this. Okay. If we wanted to have just we want to have a nice printed list of this. Okay. We can do like we did above for key and personal key ones. We can do something like for values in person 1 dot values print. Should be value for value in, there we go, print value. Okay, and we can see it lists off in a much neater fashion. I'm gonna hide that and just show you. Yeah, it prints off in a much neater fashion, each line getting its own thing, so we can just read it a little bit easier. Why are these still lists in dictionaries? Because up here they were listed in dictionaries. Hobbies is a list, and bio is a dictionary. Okay, very good. Let's hide this statement right here. And we'll bring the print X back. Okay. Moving on down the list of things we can do to it. Next up is going to be, let's look at some of these things, hobbies and bios. So hobbies is a list inside of a dictionary. So how do we get to coding or video or games? Well, if we remember, let's do down here, let's do x equals, we know we want to go inside person one, and we know we're going to access hobbies, right? Now, to access, how would you access something in lists, right? What you do is lists are ordered sequences. So everything in the list has a number. So this is position 0, 1, 2, or -1, -2, -3. So depending if you want to start from the back or the front. So we can go through and we know we want to get hobbies, and we want to get the first thing off the list. So the item numbered 0, or with the index value 0. So in that case, we could just do hobbies, person 1 hobbies. That's the key, and the value out of hobbies is 0. So we put another pair of brackets here, just like if we would try to access. If this was a regular list, we would just do something like hobbies 0. If that was just a list, right, we would just get the first thing off the hobbies list. Well, here it's the same thing. We just get the person 1 hobbies and tell us we want the first thing off that list. And it should print off coding, which it does. Very good. All right. So this is getting value in list inside of dictionary. Okay, so the next question is, all right, getting value in dictionary inside of dictionary. Okay, that one's a little bit trickier. So we got person 1. We know that the value we want to try to access, or the values we're going to try to access, is the has the key of bio. So let's put that in bio. And then, okay, well, let's see if what happens above, right? So we put in the 0 in the brackets, and does it work? No, it tells us 0 on line 47. It tells us that this ain't gonna work. Okay, and why? Because this is how you access items in a list. Lists have ordered item ordering. Here, this is a dictionary inside of a dictionary, so we need to access it the same way that we would access a dictionary, which is what we just did right here. So we have to go into bio, and we have to say what thing we want to access. So that's going to be, let's say, height, lowercase h. Capitalization matters. Height, okay. And now let's click run, and we see 6. So here we got the dictionary, we got the dictionary inside of a dictionary, and we got the value that is stored under height. All right. Okay. Now let's do yeah, actually, what we're going to do is we're actually going to take 2 different dictionaries, and we're going to compare them to see, compare dictionaries. So what we could do is actually compare to see if dictionaries that have are in one, dictionary items that are in one, already exists in another dictionary, right? So we can compare and see. So let's set up 2 lists. We'll set up boys equals, I'll set up a simple dictionary. Let's say has Jack, and he's going to be 18. We'll have Charlie, and he's going to be 15. And let's say Bob, 18. Okay. And next, set up girls. Let's set up Julia, 16. And Mary, let's have her be 15. Okay. So we have a list of boys and a list of girls. Now, what we can do is we can do the for loop like we did above for key and list. We can do students.keys. Okay, so what we're actually going to do is we're going to create a simple list. Actually, you know what? We don't even need to do that. We just do student.keys. That's much easier, actually. We could just do for key in key students. Actually, we'll do, what is it? Boys.keys. There we go. For key in boys.keys. So we'll check the boys keys. And the next we're going to do is see if, okay, so the next question is what do we do? If key in girls.keys print true, else print false. I'm going to hide that print X. Okay, so what did it do? So it went through, and for every key in the boys' keys, so Jack, Charlie, and Bob, so 3 times, it compared. Is this key, if key, this key right here, is this key, all right, we can change this to boy if it makes it easier to understand. If boy, for boy in boys.keys, so for every boy, do something. And we do a check. If that boy is in the girls.keys, basically if that name reappears in girls, print true. Otherwise, print false. Okay, so, I mean, this shows you 2 different things. We can do for boy in boys.keys, if boy in girls.keys, print true. So we see a for loop on the boys list, and we see an if check on the boys list as well too. We check each entry in the boys list to see if it equals an entry inside of the girls list. Okay, so that's how we can compare 2 items to see if they are in both or if they're just in one. Okay, what is happening here? Alrighty. So the last thing we can do is I can offer you a challenge. All right, and that's going to be to, let's say, get print index. Go to that. We'll say challenge. And if you're looking to take this further, I would say try to build. Oops, I'll do 3 strings. And if you follow along, you don't have to code this. This is just for if you wanted to. But we could say, given the current state of the global pandemic, all right, we could say create dictionary of viruses and their rate of infection. Okay, and I have no medical training whatsoever, but given the recent pandemic, I was interested in infection rates, and I read an article that described infection rates as using R naught, R0. Basically, if one person is infected with a virus, at how many other people will that person infect due to various conditions. So R naught dictionary. And I looked these things up because I was curious. A seasonal flu has a value of R1.3. So the person with the flu is going to give it on average to at least one other person. The SARS virus is R2 at the low end to 5. HIV has an R rating of 2 to 5. And measles is R12 to 16.